Today we are going to take a look at two potential draft picks for the Calgary Flames as we rapidly approach the 2024 entry draft.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Today, we're going to be talking about two players that are in the section where the Flames are positioned with their first pick in the first round. So I figured, why not address some current needs as well as assess those needs, because the Flames haven't always had the best luck with drafting, especially in the last few years. So let's just dive right into it. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube, because we are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. We all know that the Flames are in this transitional period. It is a deeper transitional period than we have seen from them within, I would say, the last 10 years, but at least within the last 5 that I've been covering this team. And getting it right, or as close to right as possible right now, will speed this process along, because you can't keep missing in the first round. I know a lot of people didn't really agree with Sam Honzek being drafted in the first round. I kind of expected a little bit better, but now they're not picking outside of the top 10 in that soggy middle. They are picking 9th, and then they're picking again at 23rd with Vancouver's pick. So they have 2 shots, potentially 3, if they decide to trade for New Jersey's 10th overall pick. But we'll talk more about that later. I think that the real concern here is the lack of center depth. This has been a reoccurring conversation over the last few years. You know, you drafted Connor Zary with the notion that he played center, and then you just kind of threw him on a wing, and he has finally played the last few games of the season at center and looked really good. So that is a very big bonus here, but you need more than just him. You need a lot more than just him. And you also need to look at the blue line. And to me, this is a less glaring issue, because I feel like you can just kind of plug and go with the blue line right now. You know, you're not looking for another, you are, but realistically, you're not getting another Chris Tanev. You're not getting another Mackenzie Weegar. You are going to have to find that within your own organization and draft it. I think right now there are some Wranglers that have the potential of making this team next year. You know, Solyov gets another chance. Do they re-sign Dennis Gilbert? Jeremy Poirier? Like, there are players that can plug those spots and finally have a chance to assert themselves as NHL blue liners. And to me, that's important, because you can't just draft and ignore and just keep turning them over. That's not a good thing. It's not good morale to have, and it kind of just shows that your prospects are disposable, and you don't necessarily want to treat them that way and have it come off that way. But right now, I am looking at center and I guess forward depth as a whole as the biggest issue, because you need to find some goal scoring. You need to figure that out immediately. Um but also not just like actually immediately. You need to have like a potential short midterm plan, I guess you could say, for this transition period. And you hope that the first rounder that you're drafting will be ready within, this season or next, or a season and a half in the AHL, and they're good to go, right? That's really what you're looking for. You know that Celebrini is not dropping anywhere in the draft, and it looks like on some mock drafts, Tisha Ginla is going higher and within the top 5, top 7. So, like, you can't really count on that. And if a player like Dickinson becomes available for the blue line, that makes so much sense. But I don't think that happens. I think that you're going to draft the best forward available. But it feels like a no-brainer if one of the better blue liners becomes available. And this is why somebody that gets paid a lot more money than me makes these decisions, has all those pretty charts to evaluate, and has conversations with people who think exactly like them. And that's not me, because I can justify any pick, or, which direction you want to go in. I can. And that's why it's fun to have this show, because I can, bring multiple points of view and maybe sway you to one side more than the other than you were before. But coming up next, I do want to talk about Berkly Catton, who is born in 2006, and a center that I found to be pretty fascinating through the Elite Prospects Draft Guide. And that's where my information is coming from for these next 2 segments. But tune in right after this break for some more details about who I might want the Flames to draft. And of course, it is winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. The NBA finals start in just a few days here, so put your picks in for who, is Boston going to take game 1? Is it going to be Dallas? Okay, what about the Stanley Cup final game 1? Are you taking the Oilers? Are you taking the Panthers? And who over, under? What are we looking at here? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on this fine draft profile episode of Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. Going back to the glaring issue here, focusing on forwards and centers, really like centers. I really wanted to highlight a projected, top 10 pick, and Elite Prospects, their draft guide came out earlier. I guess today's Tuesday, so it would have just been Monday for earlier this week here. But I found it to be really helpful and very interesting to look at, because scouting isn't for everyone, and you have to have a special eye for it. And I feel like the best scouts are the ones that actually are able to dedicate 100% of their time to it. So I found, they do their ranking of who, their mock draft. And I have, let me see, I'm going to pull this up here in just a second. So if you are watching on YouTube, you will also be able to see. And let's see. Alrighty. So this right here is Berkly Catton, who is 5'11", 163 pounds, shoots left. He's 17, from Canada, and currently plays for the Spokane Chiefs in the WHL. He had 116 points in 68 games, 54 of those being goals. The quick elevator pitch profile has him as a dynamic puck rushing forward with the handling skills, manipulation, and pace to slice through opponents, drive the net, and open passing. But will that translate to the NHL? That is something we talk a lot about on this show. Your transition to developmental leagues to the NHL is not always smooth. It is not always easy, but it can also go entirely unexpected, and you can have situations like Pospisil and Zari this season. It's completely unexpected, and they popped. Elite Prospects has him with shades of, so like who he similar to Troy Terry and Logan Cooley. Those are pretty good comparisons. Troy Terry has had a really great time, I think, busting out of his shell in Anaheim, and has really kind of made a name for himself. And Logan Cooley, still relatively new to the league, and hopefully Utah does him well. So he is one of the most fun players to watch this draft. Give him time and space, and he'll make you pay. And try to take it away, and he'll cut through your formation anyway, like a hot knife through butter. This chef's kiss, you love to see it. That is something that is so attractive, and obviously these are written in a way to hype players up and to make them sound more attractive. But it's a top 10 draft pick, projected draft pick. I think it's pretty good. The issue here that I have is that his defense is relatively low, and we all know as a center you need to have more, a little bit more defensive abilities and inclinations. Let's see here. There's also a question of how well he'll handle the rigorous of the NHL game. His ability to take pucks off the wall and get inside was inconsistent across many of our viewings, and there's a chance he'll struggle to generate offense when he's not attacking in space or off the rush. Well, slightly good news here is the Flames need someone that can do something off the rush. So, hey, options are open, right? Let's see. And there's no way of telling if he's going to stick at center or not. And here are some testimonials from different scouts and the Berkly himself. Every night, every coach was game planning to stop him specifically, and he still scored over 50 goals in almost 120 points while killing penalties and playing a premium position. Don't overthink this one. He's a top prospect. NHL scout said just last month in May. I think that it is absolutely incredible that we get to see things like this. I think that these resources are so important because many of us aren't familiar with how we can watch these games and how who to follow and where to follow them. And one thing that I did want to also note is that they tracked 9 games specifically for this only at 5-on-5. However, they did mention that he is a strong penalty killer. Flames do need some penalty killers because we all know where the other ones went. So, restacking or refilling your arsenal there do you some good. There's nothing he doesn't do well. He can skate, he can shoot, he makes plays, he kills penalties. Yeah, he's smaller than you'd like to be playing center in the NHL, but he's got the skill to overcome that. Every game, teams are going into Spokane going, okay, boys, you have to shut down Catton. And he still tucked 50. I do worry that the expectations might be a little too high if you do draft him simply because of his success in the W. And he models himself after Jack Hughes and Clayton Keller, and he sees himself in both of them. Those are two very, very good players. Do not get me wrong. And I hope that he achieves, regardless of where he's playing. I hope that he achieves that because it is so important to have someone that you are modeling yourself after and also achieving to be. I'm trying to... Alrighty, so he had a miserable start to the game in March of 2024 against the Seattle Thunderbirds. He couldn't really make anything happen in the first period, but he rebounded nicely in the final 2/3. JD Burke, who put this scouting or game report together, says that I don't know if it's the skill level or sense of really elite, but Catton just does so many things well with such a heightened level of detail. This is especially true when he's attacking off the rush. The way he'll attack inside and attract pressure, dispatch the puck, and then continue to drive the net to clear room for his line mates. He is prone to overhandling, and he failed to connect on a staggering number of passes in the game, but the ideas of the approach were usually sound. Easy top 10 talent for me this draft. That's important. I mean, all of this is important, and you have to really take all of it in context. Like, these kids are not playing at the NHL level. They're playing in the W. They're playing in the O. Like, there's different developmental paths that these kids are taking. And again, everything translates differently. And that is something so important to remember. But I do like this. I really do like Berkly Catton because I think that the Flames need centerpieces. They absolutely need centerpieces. Michael Backlund is not going to be around forever. Kuzmenko is not going to be around forever. Kevin Rooney cannot anchor your fourth line forever, unfortunately. So what is there to do? Obviously, you have Zari. You're not going to have Kadri forever either. You're going to have to get creative. And bringing in young talent that has the speed, that has the puck-moving abilities, that is claiming, people are kind of teetering on the idea of him being elite. And of course, you don't know if that's actually going to happen and translate, because how many times have we seen elite players not translate over into the NHL from the draft? Coming up next, we are going to take a look at the player that is ranked 9th here on Elite Prospects, following up from Berkly Catton, and that would be Beckett Sennecke. And we will be right back after this. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast, as well as YouTube. It'd be nice if you threw a nice little 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify as well. This is Beckett Sennecke. He is 6'2", 181 pounds, shoots right, 17, and he is from Toronto. One of the accolades on his elite prospect chart is he's got that dog in him. And that sounds like someone that belongs in Calgary. We know that Calgary just eats up the gritty players, the players that have to fight harder to play and have this edge to them that just, they got that dog in them. And I am going to read some, the elevator pitch, an ankle-breaking winger who combines deft playmaking, manipulation, powerful net drives, and puck thievery skills to control the game. The draft's biggest late riser. All of his stats here are in the positive. His offense is a 97. His transition is an 84. His defense is a 97 compared to Catton's 43. All of these positive bar graphs, good news, right? And I want to read the scouting report that is directly from Elite Prospects, or at least some of it, because while this all sounds really nice, the charts look pretty, the ratings look pretty, what caused him to jump this high? From the peripheries of our first round to top 10, it was a tale of two seasons for Beckett Sennecke. One good, another great. The season splits are staggering. As the calendar turned to welcome a new year, Sennecke had but 25 points in 28 contests. He went on to add another 43 in 35, followed before racking up 22 points in 16 playoff games. That is pretty impressive, I will say that. He had improved so much, so they bumped him up. The skill has always been there. It's what drew us to the Oshawa Generals winger in the first place. He's an overwhelmingly confident puck handler, grounded in solid technique, with an unlocked top arm and fast twitch hands. With that comes a fearlessness, dynamicism, and creativity that few in his class could match. This, to me, if I'm Craig Conroy and I'm reading this, I am eating this up. I am thinking to myself, this kid is a Calgary Flame. Just throw the Flaming C at him. Throw the jersey. Get him on the phone. Hey, how do you feel? I'm assuming he's at the prospect event in Buffalo. So, talk to him then. Pick his brain. He's Canadian. So he's not going to be like, oh, I need to be closer to home. Even though he's from Toronto. Still within the same. There's a number of factors here, right? But one of the Western Conference scouts says, oh, F-bomb. He's a big guy who's got some skill and can make plays, has that give and go game that good players have, and it means that he can play with them. He's got a good shot, and he's got a good deceptive skill set, soft hands, and if you watch him in his draft -1, there's some fight and pushback there too. So there's a lot there, and there's a lot of runway in front of him. He was sleepy in the first half, and just blanking took right off. His first half compared to the second half, night and day. Eastern Conference scout says he's really slick, really skilled. Hope he fills out that frame and has a chance to be really good if he doesn't get killed trying the stuff he does in juniors in the NHL. There's also some talk here about him being awkward. And again, if you are looking for a Calgary Flame, I feel like awkward is a really good category to check off. Sam Honzik is another player that he's big. He's lanky. I think of, there's a number of players that have come through the Flames organization that they're just awkward. And that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. And I don't mean awkward as in like a, haha, like, oh, he's so quirky, he's so shy. Like, there are quirks to their game. And those can be ironed out with time, or they just become part of his charm. I wouldn't really call Jacob Trouba throwing elbows part of the Trouba charm, but that's one characteristic that you think of, that like Matthew Tkachuk's wraparound goal, for instance. That's Matthew Tkachuk charm. Oh, Jacob Trouba. But all of these reports call him creative, and that he can shoot. What do the Flames need? What did we say all last season? The Flames just need to shoot the puck. They need to shoot the puck. Maybe this guy can shoot the puck for them. Again, this is Beckett Sennecke, and he looks like on paper, he looks like a solid player. This looks like a player you would like to have in your repertoire. It is a player that skill set is very attractive and something you would want. I'm just going through some more of his stats right now, and he moves the puck well. He can find pockets of space in the offensive zone to release, and he seems to know his next play as soon as he gets the puck. That is something that the Flames need. They need players who are not going to just hold on to the puck and think. These players need to have like split-second decision-making abilities and hopefully the correct decision-making abilities. So these are just two players that I have found to be incredibly interesting to read about. Obviously, both of these players are still learning and navigating, as they are 17 years old, and they'll be 18 for the time of the draft. But it's exciting. I think one important thing to remember ahead of the draft is this team is not looking to win the Stanley Cup in 2025. Potentially make the playoffs. And you're not, just because your first round pick does not instantly hit, does not mean they are a bust. Good things take time. And we will continue our conversations regarding the upcoming draft prospects here throughout the rest of the month. And it's going to be interesting, as the Flames have obviously this early pick, as well as the 23rd from the Vancouver Elias Lindholm trade. And there's rumors of New Jersey trying to obtain a goaltender to get that 10th overall pick to another team. So we're going to see where all of this takes us. No one knows anything right now. Consider your sources. I think that's a very big part and a very important reminder this time of year. But that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. You can follow the show on Instagram at Locked On Flames. And I will see you all tomorrow. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your shows, as well as YouTube. And I will be back tomorrow with hopefully some more good and exciting news.